The year is 2026, and the massive digital illusion of global wealth is starting to flicker and fade like a dying candle in a violent, high-altitude windstorm. We are told by the self-appointed elites that our entire value as human beings is now stored in cloud-based ledgers, controlled by invisible, cold hands that can freeze your entire existence with a single, calculated keystroke. But Andrew here, and today we are heading back to the rugged, unforgiving, and ancient peaks of the Sierra Madre to recover a lost and vital truth that has been buried under layers of modern propaganda. You see, John Wayne didn't just play a man searching for gold on the flickering silver screen. He deeply, fundamentally understood the primal frequency of tangible assets in a world that was already starting to lose its way. In an era that is rapidly becoming synthetic, hollow, and detached from reality, the Duke's lifelong obsession with the real and the physical is our ultimate, battle-tested blueprint for survival. We aren't just talking about shiny yellow metal here. We are talking about economic sovereignty in its purest, most raw form. While the distracted masses are chasing the extreme volatility of digital tokens and shifting social credit scores, the sovereign individual, the man of character, looks for the bedrock. The Duke knew with absolute certainty that when the system fails, and historical records show it always does, the only thing that remains is what you can hold in your calloused hand and defend with your unyielding grit. In this 54th chapter of the Edge Archives, we are decoding the Sierra Madre Strategy, a masterclass in hardening your wealth, your family's future, and your very soul against the coming hyperinflation of the human spirit. This is about more than just currency. It's about the physical shield of the sovereign man in an age of total transparency and digital enslavement. Think deeply about the frequency of 2026 for a moment. Look around you and realize that everything is intentionally designed to be temporary and fragile. Your currency is fiat, your data is stored on someone else's server, and even your digital identity is effectively rented from the global grid. But the Sierra Madre isn't just a physical location on a dusty map. It is a deep, ancient mindset of enduring value. John Wayne lived every second of his life by a strict, non-negotiable code of structural independence. He didn't want to be a mere ward of a Hollywood studio or a compliant subject of a growing bureaucratic state. He wanted the strategic leverage that only hard assets can provide in a crisis. He saw the paper trap closing in on the American public decades ago, long before the digital chains were forged. He understood that financial freedom is not a luxury. It is the very foundation upon which personal freedom and free speech are built. If they control your supply line, they control your voice. If they control your access to your own wealth, they control your every action. By studying the Duke's tactical and deliberate approach to wealth, his massive real-life investments in cattle, expansive land, and the raw, unrefined resources of the earth, we find the master key to our own economic autonomy in this chaotic century. In the year 2026, the most radical, rebellious act you can perform is to own something tangible that the system cannot track, cannot tax out of existence, and cannot delete with a command. We are talking about the frontier reserve, the ultimate hedge against the madness and the frantic pace of the modern world. It is time to stop being a passive, obedient consumer of the grid and start being the sovereign architect of your own private treasury. The secret archives of the Duke's private life show that he was never truly satisfied with just a movie star's paycheck. He understood the dilution of value better than most economists. He watched with a critical eye as the world moved further away from the gold standard and toward a global debt standard based on nothing but promises and thin air. In 2026, we are living in the final, desperate stages of that debt-fueled hallucination. The Duke knew that paper could be printed until it was worthless, but character and gold must be forged in the fire of reality. He invested in the physical world because he knew that nature doesn't have a delete button and it doesn't care about your political opinions. Whether it was his massive ranching operations that spanned thousands of acres or his deep interest in the mining industry, he was always positioning himself outside the centralized control loop of the elites. This is the heart of the Sierra Madre Protocol. It's about building a wealth portfolio that is highly visible to you, but completely invisible to the vultures, and the tax-collecting drones. In this age of total 24/7 surveillance, your digital wealth is an open book for the machine to read and manipulate at will. But land, physical gold, and livestock are what we call quiet assets. They don't scream for attention on a glowing screen. They sit in the profound silence of the real world, steadily growing in value as the digital world grows in chaos and noise. John Wayne was a strategic accumulator who thought in terms of decades, not days. He wasn't looking for a quick flip or a speculative gamble. He was looking for generational anchors to hold his family steady. He wanted to make sure that his descendants would never be dependent on the whims of a bank manager or the shifting winds of a government bureaucrat's pen. He was building a sovereign dynasty in the middle of a shifting, treacherous cultural desert. We need to apply that same grit and gold philosophy to our lives in 2026 if we intend to survive what is coming next. There is a harsh, cold lesson in the dust of the Sierra Madre that the modern, softened man has completely forgotten. Trust no one with your perimeter. In the classic films, the gold didn't just change the men, it brought out their true frequency. It stripped away the masks of civility and revealed what was hiding underneath. In 2026, the global system uses economic pressure as a diagnostic tool to reveal your breaking point. They want to see exactly how much of your soul you are willing to sell for a digital handout or a temporary relief from the inflation they created. But the Duke's strategy was never about reaction. It was about preemptive fortification. He didn't wait for the inevitable crisis to knock on his door. He built his walls and secured his assets while the sun was still high in the sky. He aligned himself with the hard realities of the frontier because the frontier doesn't lie to you. He understood that wealth is not for vanity. It is a tool for tactical mobility. If you are tied to a digital bank account that can be shut off because of a social violation, you are not a free man. You are a prisoner on a short leash. But if you have your frontier reserve stashed in the high country of your own private life, you have options. You have the power to say no. This is the fundamental difference between a subject of the state and a sovereign of the soul. The Duke's entire life was a masterclass in asset hardening. He deliberately chose assets that required grit to maintain, sweat to manage, and courage to defend from those who would take them. In 2026, the path of least resistance is being pushed toward soft assets, digital coins, points, and credits that require nothing but blind compliance. Don't fall for the trap of convenience. Look for the things that have physical weight, the things that have a long history of value, and the things that require a man to stand his ground with a steady hand to protect what is his. Let's analyze the complex frequency of the current 2026 economic battlefield with the cold precision of a scout. They are openly talking about programmable money, a currency that has eyes and a brain, a currency that tells you exactly where, when, and how you are permitted to spend the fruits of your labor. This is the ultimate, final invasion of the personal frontier. It is the death of privacy and the birth of total control. But the Sierra Madre strategy we are discussing today is the perfect countermove. It's about creating an off-grid treasury that functions independently of their networks. John Wayne was a master of diverse sovereignty. He never put all of his chips on one single table, and he never trusted a single system to protect him. He understood that to be truly, undeniably free, you must have redundant supply lines. You need assets that function perfectly when the power goes out, when the internet is censored, and when the digital screens go permanently dark. In 2026, the so-called Great Reset is nothing more than an attempt to make you a permanent tenant in your own life, to make sure you own nothing and be happy. The Duke's response to that philosophy would be a silent, cold stare and a simple set of orders. Buy the land, hold the gold, and keep your powder dry. He was a tactical preservationist who knew that the only way to protect his legacy from the cultural erasure of the future was to bake his principles into the physical earth itself. While the modern world is dangerously obsessed with virtual reality and metaverses, the sovereign man remains obsessed with objective reality. He values the stone over the pixel, the grain over the data, the muscle over the machine, and the metal over the code. This is how you win the long game against the architects of control. You outlast their madness by holding onto the things that have never gone out of style in 5,000 years of human history. As we bring this 54th archive to a close, I want you to take a long, hard look at your own frontier. Ask yourself, are you building your future on the shifting sands of a digital illusion, or are you building it on the solid gold of the Sierra Madre? In the year 2026, the stakes for you and your family have never been higher. The system is moving with terrifying speed to close the final exits and bring everyone into the digital fold. But for the man of character, for the man who follows the Duke's trail, there is always a way out. There is always a high road through the mountains that the drones cannot follow. The Duke has left us the map, etched in the history of his life and the grid of his films. It's a map of tangible independence and relentless self-reliance. It's time to start moving your value, your energy, and your future out of their reach and back into your direct control. Become the strategic architect of your own survival and the protector of your own house. Build your internal and external treasury with the same meticulous care and iron will that the Duke used to build his legendary, unbreakable career. Don't be afraid of the dust on your boots or the hard work ahead. Be afraid of the invisible digital shackles that are being polished for your wrists. The gold is still out there, buried in the reality of the physical world, but it belongs only to the man who is willing to climb the highest mountain and face the storm to claim it. This is Andrew, signing off from the deep vaults of the 54th archive. The Sierra Madre is calling your name. The frequency is set to maximum grit, and the gold is waiting for those few with the courage to claim their sovereignty. Stay heavy, stay physical, stay sovereign in everything you do. We will see you on the next ridge, where the real value is found only in the heart of the brave and the hands of the free. Godspeed, partner. The hunt for sovereignty is the only hunt that truly matters now. The mission continues through you.